shooting brake, estate, station wagon. No matter what you call them, there's not as many of these long wheelbase cars as there were on the road 30 years ago. But are they still worth considering over an SUV? Let's find out. This is the Audi A4 Avant 45 TFSI Quattro S-Line, and along with its slightly larger A6, it's one of only 2 Avants that Audi still make. It had a midlife update in 2020, receiving sportier new headlights and a larger grille. The styling does err on the side of conservatism just a little bit. It's just a little bit plain. It could have been just a little bit more. Under the hood, we've got a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine which outputs 183 kilowatts of power and 370 newton meters of torque. It's mated to a 7-speed gearbox, drives power through all 4 wheels, and will get you 100 k's per hour in just 6 seconds. It's a very quiet, refined engine, but it still has plenty of go. At the back here we find a small child and redesigned tail lights which are similar to those found in the latest updates of the Q7 and the Q8. Behind the powered tailgate we've got the boot, which is a disappointingly small 495 litres, which for a family of 4 going on a road trip is just not that much room. We managed to cram everything in, but we still had a couple of bits and pieces underneath my daughter's feet in the footwell. My Honda Civic, which is a small car, has a bigger boot than this, and this is a mid-sizer. I just can't help but think that a family of 4 going on a road trip might be better off with an SUV. Despite having a midlife update, this car hasn't yet received the very latest version of Audi's interior design language, so the centre console screen still rests up on top here, and we've got separate air conditioning controls, but Audi's MMI system is one of the best on the market. It has razor-sharp graphics, works without any lag, also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. However, in this car, it's not wireless, so you'll still need a cable to make it work. The climate controls are very easy to use. I really like these touch-sensitive buttons down here along the bottom. There's 3 zone climate controls, so the 2 front passengers can control their own temperature. The rear passengers can also control their own temperature from the back seat, or it can be done up here as well. Audi evidently don't want you to be storing too much of your own rubbish in here, so they haven't given you very much storage space. And it's sort of the same across Audi's entire range of cars at the moment, with the centre console bin here being virtually non-existent. There is cordless phone charging and room for maybe some pens or some coins here. And the side storage bins here in the doors are also quite narrow and thin and not very deep.
Wired CarPlay also creates a problem of where to put your phone, although there is a small storage cubby in front of the gear shifter.
One of the issues I've had with the nav system on the MMI screen is that it just doesn't seem to be very good at finding addresses. I've lost count of the number of times I've tried to put an address into the system and it sort of thought about it for a little while and then not been able to find it. And then I've gone and put the same address into Google Maps on my iPhone or even into Apple Maps and it's come up straight away. Up on the windshield in front of me is a head-up display which shows you your speed. It's nice and bright. You also get turn-by-turn directions from the nav system. Underneath that, the virtual cockpit screen, which looks fantastic with full-screen maps. It also has really cool-looking graphics and you can see whatever information you want to see about your journey or the performance of the car. The steering wheel has a nice leather wrap. It's also got a great flat bottom. I really like Audi steering wheels. A couple of stalks behind them, the turn indicators and the windscreen wiper functions. And then underneath that, my least favourite stalk of all, which is the cruise control, which is just jam-packed full of buttons and controls, and you can't really practice using it when the car's not moving because it won't engage. So I just don't like the design. I find it a little bit overcomplicated, especially compared to what you might see in a Tesla, which is just so simple in comparison. The seats are pretty good. They're not the best I've ever sat in, but they're quite comfortable. The lumbar support could be a little bit firmer. Also, the bolsters don't really hold you in on corners, but they're pretty good. In the back seat, there's more of this nice leather that we have in the front, and there's a good amount of room. We could actually squeeze 3 adults in here quite comfortably on a short trip, and on a longer trip, room for the family as well. Were you comfortable in the back seat? High five. Good amount of headroom, also a good amount of knee room from my own seating position in front of me. I'm 190 centimetres tall, my knees aren't touching the seat in front, although there is one of these hard plastic shells here which can be a bit hard on the knees if you're a little bit shorter on room. Climate controls back here for the rear as well, very easy to use, couple of air vents. A long car trip in the back seat of this car is quite doable. It's a very quiet engine. There's not a huge amount of drama or theatre about it. I think Audi have actually saved that for the sportier RS4 Avant, which I was supposed to drive in Germany earlier this year, but unfortunately COVID-19 put that idea to bed. Like a lot of Audis, I've noticed there's just that slight bit of hesitation when you put your foot down, especially on the freeway when you're overtaking. It's like you put your foot down and the car's going, hey, are you sure you want to do that? Because I'm just going to take a moment here to make sure you want to do that, and then I'll put the juice on. It's a little bit disconcerting, but once you get used to it, it's okay. Dynamically, it has it all over an SUV. It is so good in the corners, stays so well planted to the road. On a wet day like today, the Quattro all-wheel drive system just works beautifully. There is so much traction. You never doubt this car for a second in terms of its road holding ability. It really is so good. In S mode, which you just flick the gear shifter down one more time to access, you really do notice those gear shifts happening a lot faster, but it's still very quiet and refined. It's not a question of sportier performance perhaps, but rather just more enthusiastic. Starting at $71,400 and as seen here nearly $79,000, the Audi A4 Avant maybe isn't quite the right car for a family of 4 going on a long road trip. It just doesn't have the space of an equivalent SUV. But if you really enjoy driving and you want the dynamics of a regular car, and maybe you've got no kids or perhaps just one kid, then this could be the road trip car for you.